What's up, world? What's up, Earthlings? It is January 21st, 2021, 5:19. Undeniable Perception, Episode 2. What's up, brother?
Man, the
From the same mother.
The intro's starting to get a little longer. I like it. And it's just, you keep adding to it in a good way, and it's just flowing. It's good, man. Everything's good, man. Just, another day here. I think this beginning is going to sound a little contrived because the other ones we've done previously, right? We've done a few when we just kind of were, let's start conversing. What the entire intention was, like my intention, your intention on this is just like to discover more about ourselves, have the relationship that we do. People lose touch just because you're blood and your brothers doesn't mean you could have a good relationship. And I think that was what intrigued me about doing this. That we're just gonna converse, get to know each other, at the same time know about ourselves, and being consistent at the same time recording it. It's a good what is the word I'm looking for?
Good way to encompass.
Yeah,
everything.
Well, recording is a word. Like it's on record. It's on record for us. You know that we could always look back. Because how many conversations would you like to go back to when you were like having 23 years old with your friends, right?
Yeah.
Like, it'd be wild to listen to it. So I think that, and you posted it, which is cool. I think it's good. We'll keep doing that. But I just want whoever listens, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
It's not the intention, but I'm glad that people listen. The intention was for us to, learn more about ourselves and discuss things. And if people can listen, that's great. So that's why I wanted to contrive. I wanted to throw a little disclaimer out there.
Perfect. Well, before we get into any topics, I was at the store and I saw something that I wanted to give you, bro. So.
Oh, you give me something? So yeah, plastic bag. Can I open it right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not a visual. This is not a visual medium right now. So I have a what? So I'm opening this bag, and I have a Basquiat shirt. I love it. Man, this is a nice thick white shirt. And it's got the Basquiat, one of the Basquiat paintings of Tyranny. Oh, I love it, man. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Beautiful, and it's just in the front. Thanks, brother.
No problem, man.
You know me, I love Basquiat, man. He's starting to blow up more, which is
starting to blow up,
I love it. Good. More people.
Now you see him. Yeah, now you see him at that store. You see him.
You might hand me the bag.
You see him at NBA store. The Nets.
Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
I think that's dope. Whoever's handling his estate, they're doing it right because
they're actually showing him. Yeah.
They're doing it right.
Educating
it's not just
people.
on dumb stuff. It's not like on, let's throw it on. We've seen a few
dumb.
sneakers. You have it on your boots, right?
On my Doc Martens. Actually, yeah, you're right. Yeah, on my Doc Martens.
But not only you, it's like the family, right?
A family, yeah. My girl got the Docs, the same ones, and my son. The white ones with the dinosaur.
Okay.
The dinosaur painting on there. Yeah.
That's awesome. So the family has all the Docs.
The Doc
Basquiat edition.
Yes.
And I know you have some other ones, but then also the family edition, that post you guys put up. Super cute, man. The Crocs.
Oh yeah, the Crocs, man. Had to walk on Docs before I could step into Crocs. Is the slogan.
Is that your line or is that from someone?
No, I just made that up. Yeah, that's my line.
It.
Yeah, dude. The main reason behind the Docs was just my son having wide feet, bro, and like seeing my girl struggling putting shoes on him, or me struggling putting shoes on him, and I don't want to like force it and like hurt his ankle. So I just thought to myself, you know what? Crocs are comfortable, they're stylish, they're colorful. I'm just gonna try it out. They'll be easy to put on, and they just slide right in, and they fit for all of us.
And then obviously both Dr. Martin and Crocs are not advertisements. They don't even know we exist, so we're just throwing it out there.
Not a plug.
No. This is your life. And after I saw the Crocs thing, it seems okay. So they're doing the right thing because you're kind of getting people that are starting to blow up or that are big, but not that you would expect will wear Crocs. So they're making like all the uncool be cool. What doesn't Post Malone?
Uncool. Yeah, the Post Malone. He came out with his own Crocs. Yeah, a few signature shoes.
And then you have Kanye West that makes his slides sort of look like that in a way, right?
Yes, he made his own Adidas version, made in the USA. So they're the first Adidas that he made under the Yeezy brand that were made in his farm in Wyoming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because when I saw you post that later on, I know how we're talking about how everything's connected, right? Or random, whatever. But I looked at Instagram later and I saw K-Swiss K-Swiss.
K-Swiss?
That's a dumb shoe,
I
man.
wear
Swiss
my
Beats.
K-Swiss.
Swiss Beats. I said K-Swiss. That debunked company, right? Okay, so Swiss Beats, and he put a post in him wearing some Crocs.
Oh, he was rocking some Crocs.
And I was
nice.
like, but it was for the entire purpose of showing people. So I'm like, man, is it starting to blow up everywhere? Is it just like, that's cool.
Comfort.
Good, man.
So
I would be remiss in that. I wanted to make sure. So this is what's going to sound a little contrived because I wanted to make sure we touched on this just for the recency part of it. The inauguration was yesterday, right? Today's Thursday, and then the inauguration was yesterday. We have a new president, and like what Mark Maron says, congratulations, America. We're under new management.
We're under new management.
You know, shout out to Mark Maron for the way he the way he stated that. So I watched. You know, I had it in the background. You know, and it was I watch every inauguration. It's important, in my opinion, like to witness that just for the mere aspect as I get to the United States. It's a ceremony. There's a lot of traditions that go in place with this, so I find it important for that, regardless of where your politics align. And I know I sent you and our older brother a message about it. And what was your response?
Oh. My response was, because you sent a picture and it was just Joe Biden sitting down.
Right.
And I just put, what are they just televising a COVID testing? Because they were doing that.
That's
They were televising all these tests. So I'm in my garage working out. And then I get that text message from you. And honestly, I didn't even know what it was. Because I don't really pay attention to the news or that part of the media.
Okay.
To say. But how was it?
Well, I mean, it's just like, you know, it's just like how it always is, you know, it's just ceremony, tradition. They had famous people there, you know, of course, that supported. I mean, they had J-Lo sing America the Beautiful, which was, I mean, she's great at everything she does, but that is not one of those things.
Not singing?
That's not that. Sing your pop stuff, sing all that. That's cool, you can carry a tune, but don't Make America the Beautiful. You know, that should be for like Lady Gaga was there. She sang. There you go. That's what she does. That's what she should do. Jennifer Lopez, you don't have that part. But hey, that's cool though, man. I think they want to represent the diversity in Latina. So that was cool. But yeah, man, that's the only thing pretty much I'd say about that. So, but the important thing about this that I want to understand is like you don't pay attention to that sort of stuff to even know that the inauguration was happening. Is it just like a recent thing because of all the media situations been going on, or is it just one of those things where you're just like, you don't hear about it enough, so you don't have to be up to date with it?
Yeah, honestly, I feel that I hear about it enough, like within our group chat or within like your neighbors or people around your circle, things of that nature. And also, like, I've just been so in my own bubble. Like, I haven't really paid attention to anything outside of anything I don't want to accomplish or outside of anything that's not in my control. So I'm not really focusing on anything I can't really control. Just focusing on just my craft. That's where I've really disconnected myself within like the last 2-3 months.
You've been playing Minecraft?
Pretty much. One way to put it.
Right? You said
well, Minecraft, yeah.
Cool, and that's all I wanted to base on. But in this kind of, we were talking about a little earlier about when I mentioned that us trying to discover more about ourselves and our friendships. So what do you think about that in terms of like, you know, when I was younger, I always thought like, oh, because I was close to my older brother and then you came along and close knit with family, I always thought, oh, it's automatic, it's blood, right? Like, you know, you deal with the good and the bad and you just forget about it, you roll with it. But I discovered later as I got older, like in high school, I had friends that hated their siblings. And then I couldn't believe that. I was like, wow, you don't talk to your sibling? So it just reminded me how it's work. And it's just like any other relationship you have in your life. And it's a blessing to be close, but there's a lot of things you got to work on, right? You got to accept their flaws, your flaws, be forgiving, do the work like, hey, we got to hang out, things like that. I mean, did you come to that realization like that also, like sort of like me, because you were raised in a house and we were always close and talking? Or was it something that you knew was like, oh no, it's not like that with everybody? Or did you have friends that weren't?
That's funny that you say that, because you saying that it's sprung a thought that you told me at such a young age that kind of resonated with me just now. When you said, I forgot what conversation we were having, but you said, you know what, like you don't pick your family, but you choose your friends or something like that.
Right.
You told me something in that context. I don't know if you remember that. But yeah, man, the older I got, I realized that because growing up, like you said, like blood is thicker than water, you know? So I was always under the impression that, you know what, my brothers, I always got to fight for my brothers, which is a great thing to have, but to a certain extent, you know, because like you said, experiences are different. Like some people might not have siblings that they get along with, but like everything takes time. You hit the nail with the hammer perfectly with that.
Yeah, and it was like so in other words, it's just even whether it's blood or not, it still takes work. Like anything else, right?
It still takes work, definitely.
And I know, like when we started doing this, recording our conversations, we were just kind of like free flowing, which we're still doing. So I think that's good because it keeps it natural and light. But in terms like, I know you were talking offline about this, like anxiety, and things like that. So, what are your thoughts on that? What did you want to?
Yeah, and also you laid it out perfect, like with the family thing. It's because it's weird because I remember Dave Chappelle had this, I believe, this interview with Charlie Rose where he talked about like leaving $100 million on the table, right? And he said, you know what?
The $50 million for
the $50 million, okay. Right? I believe that's what it was about, the topic. But he had this, I don't know if you call it an analogy, or he had this definition of it. Like the way he described it, he said, you know what? Maybe the person isn't crazy. Maybe the environment they're in is.
Right.
So that made me think about it. Like you know what? You are a product of your environment. So if you are in like a place you shouldn't be, then that's going to lead to a lot of trouble because that's your environment. So that led me to this thought of anxiety because I never knew I was a person that suffered from it or had it because I was just in the same environment since first grade. So since I would say, 7 years old till about 29 years old, 30 years old, till I moved out of my parents' house. So 22 to 23 years in the same exact environment. You're not gonna let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, you've been with your spouse for like 5 years, or you see your spouse every single day. You're not gonna notice any differences that much because you see them every single day. But if you don't see somebody for like 3 months, then you see them, you're gonna notice differences. Like, oh, you got a haircut, or oh dang, you gained weight, or oh dang, like you've lost weight. But if you see someone every single day, potentially you're not gonna notice those type of things.
Right.
So I feel that if you're in the same environment, you're not gonna identify your opportunities because you're so stuck in that environment.
So then how does that tie in with your anxiety? So you weren't aware of the anxiety?
So I was never aware of having anxiety, like the whole time.
How did you come?
I didn't come to the forefront of it until my significant other told me. Like when she straight up told me, she's like, you know, you have anxiety, right? Because like I get like randomly, I would get
she
like.
She told you that was when you were like scratching the walls. Is that how she knew?
Yeah, I was like.
What happened?
Like I remember, like I would get like random numbness in my hands, and then my throat would swell up
just out of the blue.
Out of the blue, and I feel like I can't breathe, and then I feel like, and then I just sweat a lot, dude, and I just run off of anxiety, bro, and like I never knew that until she pointed that out, and then I thought to myself, I was like, damn, she's right. I do suffer from that. I do have that type of disability or whatever you want to call it. So one thing I want to say is like anxiety is normal, man. I feel that we might all have it because Shit, man. Like when the internet came, remember it was dial-up? It was AOL. We would have to wait forever to get it.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be able to like use a home phone. We wouldn't be able to use a home phone because we were trying to use the internet. Remember that?
Yeah.
Now it's like everything's so quick. So I feel like we're getting everything like in baby steps, and then we got everything on like that 20 level of a treadmill. 20 speed level of a treadmill on that.
So then when you're talking about your environment, you're talking about, okay, the household, right? The household, living in the same city, going to school, same friends, same all that. So it was the same
routine.
The same routine, right? And it's the same faces, same, shared experiences and all that such. So then you operated a certain way, like you said, up to like 30 years, right? Operated. So now, when it was finally called out by your lady, where are you at now with that, or how have you attacked, or how do you feel right now about the anxiety level?
The way I define it. So like I feel like we're all authors of everything. I'm a big believer like you could control how you feel. Like you could control your attitude, like how you react. 90%, 10% what they do to you, 90% how you react from what they do to you, right? So it's like instead of like saying, you know what, anxiety is this negative thing, I fucking hate anxiety, I don't want it. Like I saw this tweet, this random person this tweet went viral that said, you know what, anxiety's a bitch, it beat my ass yesterday, blah blah blah. So I remember the Kanye West album in track number 1. I thought about just that album, the Ye album. He talks about his bipolar disorder, but he says it's not a disability, it's a superpower. And that resonated with me really well with anxiety because I used anxiety and I channeled it in a positive way. I channeled it into having more charisma, into having more energy, into channeling into working out more. So I made anxiety a fucking best friend instead of an enemy. I welcomed it instead of dismissed it. I said that's the homie, that's my superpower, instead of it's a bitch. So the way I defined it is different. So I channeled it in a positive way. So like that's why I really wanted to talk about it, because anyone can do that shit, man. It's how you define it. Like, what's your perspective of anxiety? Why not use it as a fucking superpower instead of like, you know what, this crutch is hurting me. But I know there's a lot of different types of anxiety that a lot of people
yeah, for
have.
sure. Like there's
OCD
like
type.
There's a lot of different things to unpack, right?
A lot, yeah. But these are my experiences. This is what I do too.
So that's a huge plus. So you were, instead of, well, first of all, you weren't aware of it, right?
Nah,
like it was just the way you
it.
operated. Like you'd be, all fast and all this other stuff, and then you'd get all these negative reactions, right? Like you said, that's scary, right? Like your fingers will get numb on your hands, you wouldn't be able to breathe, and you thought maybe like, well, what is it? Something else wrong with me physiologically, or is it something like, is it supplements that I may be taking?
Yeah,
is it this? So you wouldn't
caffeine.
know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you'd find in all these different and then when you realize it was a side effect of anxiety, because anxiety's a bitch, right? Like anxiety, if it's not controlled or balanced out, it could have all kinds of negative effects and affects people differently, right? So the and it's funny the way you state it, because I remember it triggered the memory of that one actor who used to be on Saturday Night Live. He's on that show Barry now. He created.
Oh yeah. The guy, LeBron James' agent.
Yeah, I forget his name. The guy who has like one eye.
Barry Swisher or something.
I forget his name, but he's he's extremely good, right? But he said, Saturday Night Live. He said he struggled with stage fright and high levels of anxiety. Insane levels of anxiety.
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live, where he's performed live, right?
Oh yeah.
So what he said, he said a similar thing where he's like, "Hey, I'm just anxious," and it doesn't work for everybody, but for him, with his therapist and people he's worked with, they've told him, "Hey, man, you don't even have to define it. You just have to tell yourself, I'm anxious," instead of thinking, "Why am I anxious? Why am I this? Why am I that?"
Yeah.
Because then you start going in a circle. But there's other therapists that say like, "No, you should identify the source," but it doesn't mean like at that moment, like because anxiety is coming from somewhere, right?
Somewhere.
But he said a similar thing that famous actor Jeff Bridges,
yes,
the
Big Lebowski.
the Big Lebowski, the dude, he was there, and one of those things where like he just wasn't able to focus. The actor, not Jeff Bridges, but the Saturday Night Live guy, and so he knew it was because of anxiety. He said that Jeff Bridges just came up to him. He told him, "Hey, you know what you do with anxiety?" So Jeff Bridges wrapped his arm around the actor and told him, "You make it your friend, man.
You make it your best friend. Welcome it. Why not? It's part of you."
And it clicks to some people, and some people it takes longer, but some people resonates. But that's similar to the way you approach it.
Yeah, man. Like you kill, like what they always say, like kill the. What is it? Like kill the demon when it's small, or kill your enemy when it's small.
Oh yeah, you attack a problem when it's small, or
you
it's
attack
getting
a problem
bigger
when
like
it's
a
small.
cancer.
Exactly.
So then, how are you about it now? What's been the response with your body and your mind now that you?
It's just a part of me now. It's just me.
Flow with it.
I flow with it. Like I welcome it, and I use it. I use it just to work out.
And that's true because I apply
music.
that with nervousness or anything like that. Like, oh, you're gonna go to a job interview, right? Job interview. Don't lie to yourself and think like, oh, I'm not gonna get nervous. I'm gonna be cool. No, just accept it. Like, hey, I'm gonna get nervous. Natural.
Exactly. Just
and
go
if you
with the
don't,
flow.
you just go with the flow because then you accept it and you know it's there, and it's just there with you.
And that
You make it your friend, as opposed to like it's not gonna happen. And then you just lie to yourself, and that intensifies things. And you gotta just accept it and roll with it.
And that leads me to I was reading up on Nietzsche earlier, the German philosopher. Mm-hmm. He talks about amor fati. Have you heard of that?
No.
So amor fati, AMOR, and then FATI. It's loving your faith, accepting your faith. So that's pretty much what we're talking about. So just going with the flow, accept the flow.
Okay.
You know. So I thought that was pretty cool. What he was talking about with that.
Yeah, and I think that we like one of the things that I have on my fridge is hard things are hard. And even though it's kind of like a sidestep to this, I saw this. I think they were interviewing either Barack Obama or I saw it in a picture they took of his, and he had that on his desk on the side, and it wasn't even the centerpiece of the conversation at all. But I noticed it, and I just clicked. It's just it's just a reminder about simplifying things and understanding. Like when I find myself complaining about something because something's difficult, I'm like, man, hard things are hard. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be easy, right? Yeah. And the same like. In the way I translate things in my mind, I could use it and apply it to other things, right? As we all do. But like that, for example, with anxiety, it's like, boy, it's anxiety. How's that? That's how anxiety is supposed to feel.
That's what it feels like.
And if you flow with it and you're cool, it just kind of rolls off of you, or it just lives there with you, right? And you're able to balance it out and do other things. That's why some people crack under pressure. That's why some people don't. Why is LeBron James so successful? Kobe Bryant, etc. Rest in peace. Because they flow with it. They don't say I'm not going to get nervous, but there's some that don't get nervous, right? Like, which is wild. Like Michael Jordan, when they asked him about the final shot, he's like, I never doubted myself.
It's just part of the game.
Never doubted myself.
Shot.
Never doubted myself, right? And there's other people like Robert Horry that I remember when they would ask him, why are you making so many big shots? He's like, dude, I have a son at home with a lot of challenges. This is nothing. This is just fun. Damn. And that's his perspective. And I was like, yeah. He's like, hey, this is just a trivial game.
It's just a trivial game. Like
other people could be like, oh no, the press, this, I'm going to miss, I'm going to fail. It's like, this isn't a problem.
Yeah, it's the way your perspective is. Because the way you're talking about the way Jordan saw it, that sprung a thought. The way Custom Auto would teach Mike Tyson psychology, he would just teach him as the task. Like, you're not a person anymore. It's just the heavyweight belt. You're going to be the heavyweight champ. It's just heavyweight champ. That's it. Nothing in between. Just that. So that was his perspective of it. Like some crazy psychological.
In a nutshell, there's no blueprint, right? There's no or a better way of stating it, there's no one right way, right? There's no one right way. Mm-hmm. We all make the rules along the way. Everything we've learned, someone else made those rules. Someone else did that, right? So you could break it apart, right? What is that, like Steve Jobs, right? Who said we're all living by other people's rules and they don't know any more than you. You break it up to yourself. So it's just, there's no one right way of doing things as long as you're just doing it right and incrementing and getting better daily. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying like, oh, you have to measure, like today I'm getting good at this, but it's like, people, and I've suffered from this, and I've done this, where like you just assume like, oh, I'm gonna be this expert. Sorry, slam the table. I'm gonna be this expert like on something immediately, and then you get all frustrated. It's like, no, like just improve.
Takes
right?
time.
Right? Like, was it Jordan? I know we keep quoting all kinds of people. I forget what they said. Where it's like not. Yeah, I think it's Jordan B. Peterson. What he says, don't compare yourself to where someone else is at today. Compare yourself to yourself where you were yesterday, and that's the truth.
That's true, man.
You got to just incrementally get better. Some people can switch overnight, man. Some people have that mind power, right? Which is insane. Like one of our close buddies, we won't say the name, where he suffers from being an addict, right? And he was able to just stop cold turkey once he made up his mind. And some people can't do that, right? And that's fine. It's just, but he's just
decades,
and he could be around other people that are, partying, doing all that, and that person's still like, I'm good.
Like, yeah, that's very
because
impressive.
That person just put it in his mind, like, no, dude, he put it in the right perspective for himself, and just roll with it.
Just roll with it. Definitely. And that leads me to, you told me that you finally came across, or you finally welcomed the Holy Mountain.
Yeah, man. Well, I've known about Alexander Jodorowsky for a long time, right?
Yes.
I'm a big film fan, as you are. But you've more recently, I think the last couple of years, have been more into him, right? And I've seen a lot of films. Like, I've watched his early films, right? Way back then, El Topo, Santa Sangre, and other stuff. And then I had never seen Holy Mountain, even though I burned it a long time ago. But you bought it, so I was like, I want to see it. So I just recently finished it. Woo! Man, that's
amazing.
That guy's impressive. Even the other stuff, like, I already enjoyed his stuff, but that one.
What do you call it? Cinematography? Yeah. Everything's an image, like, in that picture. Like, it's an art. Every scene's an art piece. I felt like it was impressive.
So what are the? You've seen it a few times?
I've seen it twice. Felt, dude, like Obey got a lot of influence from that movie.
Okay.
Like, when was this movie made? 1970.
I think like 72 or something.
So like this dude thought of, just to describe the film, there's a scene where they shoot soldiers.
Spoiler alert on the film. That's what, like,
they shoot soldiers and
6 years old.
they shoot like soldiers.
Yes.
And birds come out.
Well, they're shooting protesters.
They're shooting protesters.
And then they have like a hole in someone's shirt because it was kind of low budget. But it's fine. Like, you have birds coming out of the birds coming out, right?
Because I remember in junior high when I first saw Obey.
Oh, that is an Obey image, right?
I believe so. I remember seeing an image with like a figure like that with like a bird coming out.
Coming out, okay. And then, so what are your kind of thoughts about that, Holy Man? Well, first of all, what made you intrigued on Jodorowsky? And am I correct that I kind of introduced you to him? Or
yeah, you introduced me to him. Well, you know what?
Was that the first you've seen of his?
The way I heard about him was when we went to the Yeezus tour.
Oh, you talk about Holy Man.
So the Yeezus tour, the reason behind the mountain was because of Holy Mountain.
You know what?
And that's where I heard about Holy Mountain. And then when I brought it up, that's when you're like, oh, I have that movie.
I would bring him up to you in the past, and I think it was just ignored because you were into other stuff back in the day. Yeah. Okay, but then that got you. That's right, because Kanye is a threshold for a lot of recency things that you get interested in, right?
Yeah.
Which is similar to me, what I do. Like, if there's someone that's I think it's the smart and natural way of doing things. Like, someone that I admire or respect for their taste, they'll say like, oh, this person influenced that. Like, oh wait, okay, so like Elvis Presley was into this blues artist. Let me check out that blues artist.
What he learned from that person.
Blues like that, and then you see the development and trajectory.
You kind of see what they take from that artist, or learn, but learn from that person and apply it.
And not only that, but you're like, okay, I love this person's music or art. They were influenced by this person, then I'll probably like it too. And that takes you somewhere else.
And I love that because that's just going to build up that positive callus of always being open to building towards anything.
And it just opens another door, and that leads to
another door. To another door.
So then, what were your thoughts about Holy Man?
I thought it was an amazing film, bro. I thought it was so ahead of its time. Mm-hmm. like to a lot of people, it would be. I feel like this film would be you either love it or you hate it. I don't think like there's an in between in this film. Like you'd probably think like this is a repulsive, disgusting film, or like, oh my god, this is like an elegantly, beautifully shot. Like depending on how your perspective is, I think that is actually the perfect movie based off of your perspective.
Yeah, like
how you might view everything.
And because I just recently finished it, so it's like more, it's just fresher in my mind that it's definitely a surreal film to say the least, right? It was during the surreal time and everything, so everything is like a metaphor or visual of this, dealing with spirituality or ideas, politics,
different planets,
religion,
yeah,
shedding yourself of materialistic things,
yes,
and all done with strong visuals. So his creativity is on another level, right? Because his creativity is like, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid who I offend. And then the ideas, when you break them down, you're like, man, this motherfucker can think, right? And he's just like in its earnest, and it's also absurdist too, because it's like, oh, I don't care, I want to laugh at this too and do this, and that's what makes it so good, because you have that right blend of like, I don't even know what this fucking means, but I'll put it out there, or this, or just a feeling.
It makes you feel and kind of discover yourself. Like, wait, should I do that? Should I laugh? Like, it makes you question. Like you
well, that's what makes it great.
Should I laugh at this?
It makes you have a conversation about it, and when you can talk about this film for a long, long time,
you have a conversation with yourself.
So we both highly recommend it.
Yes, watch.
I don't even think you could stream it anywhere, or unless I'm correct, I don't know if you're rented or not. And
probably not.
The Holy Mountain is definitely not they're not an advertisement either, but but shout out to Alexander Jodorowsky, who's still doing the thing. I think it was like 91. I think he's like 91.
He's 91 years old now.
And he's still doing the thing, man. I still have other films I need to see.
Like he's like 91 years old. Like he's a free person. Like he's healthy. Like he like he's artistic, expresses himself. Like if I hear you're 90 years old, I feel like you healthy, man. You mentally healthy.
Yeah, he's lucky too.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think his parents are from Russia, and they fled Russia to Chile. So he's like Chile first generation, but he's all Russian background and everything.
Wow.
So that's why there you see a lot of like those Nazi imagery and
like the marching. You see a lot of that.
The deaths,
yeah.
So anyways, man, it's a visual spectacle. It's absurdist, it's surreal, it's to be taken lightly, but also to be taken extremely thoughtfully, and what you get from it, and like anything else, it's what you get from it. But
it's what you get.
It's stunning, man, and you don't want to see anything like that. And this was 60 years ago, 72. I'm not great at math, but yeah, like 50 years, 60 years.
50 years, 49 years ago.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. So that was a great movie. I'm glad I borrowed it from you, and now I kind of want to watch it with audio commentary to see his take.
Oh yeah.
To be like, see what I did here? I did that, man. But also the thing that I showed you a long time ago too, before you saw this, was the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune.
Oh yeah.
Remember? And
I need to revisit that on Amazon.
And how Nicholas Winding Refn, the filmmaker, said this is the greatest film never made, because his creativity, everything spawned from that. The ideas of aliens, the films, all that, because he had hired that group. Like Jodorowsky did. He went out there and like, oh, this guy did great. This guy, and those guys created all these different ideas for the movie Dune, and it's on a thick book, and they just never shot it because it's gonna be too expensive. But all those guys ended up making Aliens and all these other films that just all sprung from the ideas of the Dune film that he was gonna do.
That's amazing.
91 years old, man.
That's crazy.
That's freaking awesome, man. And so speaking of like the first generation, because he was first generation from Chile, I had this thought the other day because I listened to this conversation between Carlos Mencia, who's also known as Carlos Mencia by other people, right? He had an interview with Bobby Lee in his podcast, and I love Bobby Lee. And I thought Carlos Mencia was great when I saw him. He was one of the best shows I've ever seen. But I'm also not a comedian, so I can't comment on his joke stealing, but that's well documented and people that rival it and such. But he had this great, that's the point. The point of the story is that he had this great story where he took, and Bobby Lee had talked about it, he took Bobby Lee to his home country of Honduras, right? in an area where there's like a small village. There's really nothing around. You're taking like a little shoddy boat there and all this other stuff. And they were there for a month, right? And Bobby Lee, and he told Bobby Lee, look, the reason why I took you there, because I want you to be appreciative of how lucky we are to be born in the country we are born in, because this is the best we could have done. If we were born in Honduras or in a country like that where there's hardly anything, and you were here in the States, maybe the best you could do is you're like the one guy that owns the boat with the little tiny engine that makes it run. And I was like, man, that was pretty. Well, that was that was like that thought behind that. And I know we tell ourselves, but something we forget about the importance of how lucky we are of where we are born, because you don't choose where you're born, man.
Yeah.
And this made me think about this. It's this idea where I know you and I sometimes we get frustrated with our parents, right? Our parents who came illegally, they're citizens now. They they did their time. They've always been into their taxes. They've been they've been part of the community, etc. Right? And they're sworn citizens and everything. And I know sometimes we get a little frustrated. We're like, well, technology stuff, right? Like we're like, oh man, we gotta show them the iPhone again.
First generation problems.
Things like that, right? Just like that. If anyone knows that, we know how frustrating that could be, because you teach them over and over again. And to our heads, it's simple for us, right? It's like second nature to us, but not to them. It's something foreign, right? And then after I heard that story, and this triggered the thought later, I really got annoyed with myself, because I had to remind myself, like, man, wow, it just hit me. Like, I could have the perspective of like, and I thought of this analogy. Our parents bought me a Nintendo when it first came out. I think that was like, or maybe a little later, but it was like, I believe in 85 or 86 or whatever. They bought me and our older brother a Nintendo, our parents did, right? So I thought of the analogy like, okay, so they bought us a Nintendo, they gave us the technology, so we're the ones supposed to have to master that. I shouldn't have to expect like, okay, you guys worked all hard, you guys bought it for us, and now I want you guys to master it too.
Yeah.
Like, no, they just purchased it for us. They gave us the idea, they give us the opportunity. We're the ones that have to run with it.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, you guys need to know your technology too, and your iPhone's like, no, man, like they did their part.
I did.
They
my
gave
part.
You the Nintendo. Now you run with
the
it.
Controller in your hand.
Yeah, now you run with it. I gave you the opportunity. Don't expect me to do the Nintendo too. Why?
Yeah.
And it's because we forget.
We forget. We're not reminded of where they came from, or the struggle that they had to go through, or all the sacrifices. So we take little things for granted. Those are things that we take for granted. I take that for granted. Yeah, I'm not patient at all when it comes to that. I'm horrible at that. I need to get better at that. Now you mentioned that. Yeah, man.
Yeah, because that was like, because I know that's one of the things that we wanted to discuss more was about the first generation things. Like we're first generation, and we share a lot of friends that are also first generation. Water seeks its level, right? And then we have similarities the way our folks are compared to the same our friends that are first generation also. And not everyone's the same. There's certain people that came here illegally that flourished big time, right?
Yeah. That
became extremely fluent with the language, that did this and all that, but everyone's different.
Everyone's different. Everyone has their different path.
They did their job though. They gave us the opportunity. They provided for us. We were never in need of anything. Wants, yeah, of course, but when you're broke, you're broke. I mean, they bought us a Nintendo, but then I only had 3 games the rest of my life until I started getting a job.
You used that Duck Hunt?
We didn't even have the Duck Hunt. We had the Super Mario Brothers,
Part
Elevator Action.
Elevator Action, never heard of it.
And I forgot what other game, but the rest we had to rent, So it was like, it was never more was bought, but the whole point of this is, that just has to do with money, that, but the appreciative of understanding where your role is. It's not the role anymore to be like, on top of technology.
It's not. It's, yeah. Like you said, man, they put the controller in our hands. They had the confidence.
You beat Mike Tyson.
You beat it. Now you gotta teach me this.
Right.
That's true, man. Wow, that's wild. Yeah, because just the other day, I was just airdropping pictures, because my dad has no memory on his cell phone.
Yeah.
So I had an AirDrop, and it stopped working, bro. I was AirDropping all his pictures from his cell phone to his iPad, but after like 40 pics, it kept saying error, and that got me so frustrated. I was like, man, I'll do this later, Dad. And I felt so bad because there was nothing I could do, and I could just film my dad like,
yeah, because
how can you not do this?
Because
I'm like, it's not letting me. I'm trying though.
Yeah, because think about it, man. It's like you don't have a driver's license, you don't know how to drive, you need to go to the store, and it's far, so you're giving them no chance. You know, they're hopeless.
Yeah,
they're depending on you.
They are, man.
Yeah, man, you're a dick.
I know.
You better fix that stuff quick. Yeah, you gotta work on that, man. Like me, sometimes I'll react that way, and then I immediately feel it, and then I backtrack.
Yeah, I feel
but sometimes I
bad.
do lash out a little bit. I'm like, oh. But that's we're not perfect either, man. But it's like, yeah, I think just putting the forefront and talking about it like this is like, hey, man, like, because there's always something, right? They always need something, right?
So, everyone always does.
So there's always like, sometimes it's not just a visit. Like you're like, oh, talking is like, hey, by the way, like,
you know, it's only yeah, that's true. When the favor comes before the how you doing.
Always like,
hey, you know, I need this. By the way, how you doing?
Right, so it's one of those things where it's like that. But what was that? I cut you off. Think you were saying something?
Oh yeah, they were over here the other day, man, and
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I felt good, like cooking for your parents, you know, for our parents, you know. I'm
you guys
like,
have done that a few times, right?
A few times, you know, like this is like the least I could do. You know, you always gave me a hot meal. Now it's my turn, so I invited them over, and I cooked the Beyond Meat burgers.
Is it like pre-made? Like, okay,
yeah. It's pre-made. They're frozen.
Oh, okay, so it's pre-made.
So it's made out of like pea protein and like beet juice extract to give it flavor and all that.
It's not soy.
It has some. No, it's no soy.
Okay,
no soy.
Because the Beyond Burger and the other one is the Ultimate Impossible. So this is the Beyond one.
Yeah, that's the Beyond Burger. That's the one they sell at Carl's Jr.
Okay, cool.
So I bought those. So I cooked them, and like my mom ate it, and my mom looked at me and she was like, "Wait, this ain't meat." And I was like, "Nah."
Well, set it up. You told them immediately that it wasn't, or what do you mean?
No, well, they asked. They're like, "This ain't meat," and I'm like, "Nah, it's not meat."
This is before you cooked it, or after they tasted it?
This is before I cooked it.
Okay. So you're like,
and then like halfway through the burger, my mom was like, "This ain't meat," and like that made me feel so good because it made me think about what your boy Alan told you about the white bean dip and the paprika, and he's like, a lot of people don't even know about this.
That guy's like a wizard, man.
But like that made me think about that because my mom don't know about Beyond Burger,
right?
And like what you're talking about with technology, like that's our job to educate our parents or anyone in our circle in our life for betterment. Or
that's one of the things you used to always talk about in the past. Like you're like when you're more and more getting into health and what you consume. Like when I was at home living with the folks, you said that like you're like.
I want to put butter on everything.
There's just a bunch of food. Like, there's a bunch of different stuff we shouldn't be eating.
Yeah.
And in a way, you were a little helpless, right? Even though we can control everything because the stuff's at the house. In the fridge. And here in your own home with your family.
I control what I put in there.
Control what you put. And how much have you felt of a difference? Have you flourished, like, internally?
Big time. I've shed so much pounds. I think I'm at 160. 165, so I've probably dropped like 20 pounds since I've left my parents.
That's wild, man. And aside from that, you work out 7 days a week, but
8 days a week, diet, like the Beatles.
Oh, really? You Ringo then?
Yeah, 7 days
Tarantino.
You Ringo then.
No, that's great, man. It's funny because you say, okay, it's funny because we want to always keep this conversation honest and talk about things like when you came over to the pad to watch the Bills win, which is awesome. You and our older brother, right? And then we ordered pizza.
Oh yeah.
Right. And this just also like comes about talking and whatever you're comfortable. And then you had some slices left, and I only ate a few, so I put mine in the fridge. I was like, "Hey, you done with this? I'll put it in the fridge." You're like, "What did you say?"
Oh yeah. I was like, "Nah, let it cool down."
Let's act it out. Like, hey, you done with this? I'm throwing it in the fridge.
Oh no, it's cool. Just leave it like that.
What do you mean?
Because it's not cold yet. You gotta naturally cool
cold?
down.
Man, that's an old wives' tale.
Yeah, man.
I was like, that's because we were taught, right? Like, it's like we think in our head, like we were taught that. I told parents, no, it's not true. It's like, because what makes things spoil and grow bacteria, it's time and air, right? So if you leave something out, it's more time and air that's exposed to. Temperature doesn't matter. If it's hot, we think, we throw it in the fridge, it's bad. No, not at all. Throw it in the fridge because now it's protecting it from growing bacteria.
From getting air.
Yeah, but we in time. So that's why we grew up thinking like, it's like an old wives' tale. It's like a Hispanic thing.
No,
it's 100%.
In me.
It's 100% right. And I'm saying it's just funny. But then I was like, I wasn't gonna argue with you because I was like, what? I just made that little bit, and you're like, no, just leave it out. I was like, all right, cool. Because I just told you what it is.
Because when I get it back, it's gonna be warmer. Like if I put it in the fridge, it's gonna be colder.
Yeah, but you're not growing bacteria on it.
Yeah. But it's not.
Especially
it's not
pizza
out,
is such a susceptible for bacteria because of different ingredients and bread and all that.
Even though it's out for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's time and air. Just think about it that way.
Even if it's covered with a box.
It's time and air. It's exposed to time and air. That's anything. That's anything.
That's crazy.
Because I used to always think,
my girl actually said that the other day.
Microwave is bad. I used to always think like, microwave is bad to heat your food that way.
I don't like the microwave.
It's quite the opposite. Microwave is the best thing to keep the nutrients in your food. It's not gonna taste good though. Like if you're gonna cook a broccoli, right, and you're gonna do it over the stove top.
It's like 1200 volts, right, or something like that.
Well, the reason why, let's just take for example broccoli, and it took me a while to understand this until someone explained it. I forgot. I think it was a nutritionist or something. So I was like, microwave's bad for your food, and I'm like, no. So you say you take broccoli, right? Frozen broccoli, take it out, and you're like, let me put it over on the stove top with, boil it, right? So like, that's healthy because you're not baking it, baking's not bad, but deep fry, you're not doing anything, right? But no, how long does it take? Now it's exposed to time and air and temperature. I think it's also temperature and all that. So now all the nutrients are being sucked out of the broccoli. If you were just to put that in the microwave, it's in the microwave, heats up, most of the nutrients stay in there. It's just not going to taste good. You're going to sacrifice the taste.
That makes sense.
And I'm not a scientist, but that makes complete sense. When nutrition explained to us, like, oh man, I always thought microwave is bad, but no, it keeps more nutrients in there.
Microwaves are kind of weird to me though.
Well, yeah, for sure, because everything's
like
going rapid, rapid, fast.
Yeah.
But then, how do you explain the
oven?
The crock pot. The crock pot, like if it's like a steam one, look how fast it's done.
Yeah.
So it's not the speed thing. How fast must it be with the temperature to cook it? But with that, you don't see it as a bad thing.
Yeah, you don't. Like a slow cooker.
Yeah. So man, the lesson here is just throw your freaking pizza in the oven. Throw your pizza in the freaking fridge, man.
Just microwave that shit. Cold pizza.
Well, man, pretty soon we're gonna do the baptism. Super excited. We're gonna baptize Ezekiel Jude.
Yes. Ezekiel Jude. The end of the month.
I've been calling him Godson ever since you guys blessed me with the opportunity to do that. So I'm stoked. Yeah, and we're gonna do pretty soon, right?
The 30th, right?
But we have the class today.
Oh yeah, at 7:30
through Zoom. So
meet the priest.
So I think we're gonna
baptize the kid.
I think we're gonna cut this short, but unless there's something else you wanted to talk about or throw out there?
No. But again, thank you guys so much for the continued support. Undeniable Perception, episode 2. We'll be uploading an episode every Thursday. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Peace out, guys.
Take it easy, y'all.
New management.